world's most luxurious surfing contest kicked off its 2024 edition in some of the biggest waves in the history of the event. The Surfing Champions Trophy sees competitors battle it out in singlefin, twinfin and thruster divisions. Heat start times are staggered from oldest to youngest, and in 2024 Taj Burrow will surf 33-minute heats, Jeremy Flores will enter the water at the 28-minute mark, Jadson Andre and Ammaday Agil a minute later, while Carissa Moore and February join the field with 26 minutes on the clock. Andre set the tone on the first wave of the event, riding a custom-made 5'9" Ricardo Martins shape. A beautifully red deep backhand tube landed him an 8.5 and made it clear that despite only surfing a single fin for the first time this week, his impeccable wave selection and tenacity in the tube were going to make him hard to beat. Andre sat comfortably in the lead while 5-time world champion Carissa Moore and local wildcard Ammaday locked into a back and forth tussle for second. The natural-footed Maldivian barrel merchant eventually prevailing. Burrow took a far tougher route through the first round, the iconic Australian squaring off against Europe's greatest surfer Jeremy Flores, and South African style merchant and free surf icon February in an all-star showdown. While Flores high-scored the affair with a 9.1 for a perfectly threaded double barrel, he couldn't find a backup wave, and Burrow's 8.4 and 7.9 and February's 8.0 and 7.87, all recorded for deep tubes, saw them advance to the man-on-man rounds. The first semi-final between Andre and February came down to the dying minutes. Andre's impressive 8.27 and 7.33, leaving the tall South African chasing near perfection for the win. While a long tube, searing carve and raucous crowd reaction asked the question of the judges, the resulting 9.0 saw February fall just short as Andre moved on to the end game. Burrow blitzed the second semi, spending more time in the tube than out to throw away a string of high scores, hold onto a pair of 9s and record a huge 18.86 two-wave total. Burrow's last tube was the best of the day, a 9.63, the reward for a gurgling foam ball wrestle that left Ammaday chasing a combination of scores as time ran out. As the final siren sounded, it was Andre who took the win over Burrow in a closely fought final to clean sweep the day and move to the top of the Surfing Champions Trophy leaderboard. The Four Seasons Maldives Surfing Champions Trophy went rogue on day 2 as a big jumping swell saw the decision made to switch the traditional order of proceedings and run the thruster division rather than the scheduled twin fins. The first heat of the day saw Burrow locked into an incredible tube shootout with fellow former CT competitors Flores and Andre to kickstart proceedings. Burrow and Flores, with an 8 and a 7-point ride apiece, moved on at the expense of yesterday's winner Andre, whose pair of 7s left him just short, but no less happy to be in the Maldives, paddling back into the boat smiling. In the second heat, February looked ominous from the start, advancing with a 15.2 wave total. Moore weaved her way through countless tubes to claim second, while Maldivian Ammaday found one fun barrel but couldn't secure a backup score to finish in third. Semi-final 1 saw Burrow and Moore square off in one of the biggest matchups of icons the Surfing Champions Trophy has ever seen. The opening exchange saw Burrow fly through a long-running tube and kick out in time to see Moore lock into a drainer of her own. Back-to-back barrels earned an 8.5 and a 6.83 respectively, and the tone had been set. Moore was left needing an 8.18 that never came, the two legends beaming as they boarded the boat afterwards, thrilled to share a heat together. In the second semi-final, February opened with a deep tube to silky smooth carve for an 8.33 to put himself in prime position. Flores replied with a stand-tall tube for a 7.17, and with February unable to secure a solid second score, the door was left open. In the dying minutes, Flores found his chance on a smaller inside wave. A barrel, backed up with calves, netted the Frenchman a 5.6, just short of the 5.94 he needed. Known for his fiery competitive nature, the Four Seasons version of Flores simply laughed and went back to playing with his kids before settling in to watch the final. Unlike yesterday's endgame, today Burrow took full advantage of his 7-minute age advantage, starting his campaign with an 8.67 for a big barrel and a string of trademark frontside turns before February had even entered the water. When he did, February sat on the wider inside peak and went to work. A 6 and a 5.93 in quick succession weren't quite enough for the lead, but applied pressure to Burrow, who sat with only a 3.5 as his backup. Needing a 6.17, a throwaway by today's lofty standards, February swung for the fences as a solid set approached. Taking off straight into a deep, deftly ridden tube, February emerged with the spit, eyed off the wickedly critical closeout section and wrenched a fully committed layback carve. The spray from February's vicious turn was still landing long after the resulting 9.57 was read out, giving the tall South African the win. Grey skies greeted competitors as they made their way out to the Sultans lineup on day 3, and as an early tropical downpour dissipated, it left a silky smooth ocean in its wake. Slack winds and non-stop waves were the perfect vindication for the twinfin division to run a day late, and Jeremy Flores came out all guns blazing in the first heat. Unimpressed with his performances on the opening 2 days, and with no chance of winning overall, Flores was surfing for pride alone, but that was plenty. An 8.33 and a 7.17, both for beautifully ridden tubes, were warning shots to the field, and enough for a comfortable victory over Burrow and local wildcard Ammaday. The second heat saw more fireworks from another passion-fueled surfer, Andre. Going upside down on his backhand as he has all event, Andre locked in an 8.33 and a 7.83 to move on to the next round in first place. February advanced in second, while the valiant but fatigued Moore was eliminated. After his strong opening round performance, Flores stepped up further in the semi-finals against February, whose pair of sixes were no match for Flores' 8.67 and 9.1. In the second semi, Andre, who needed to advance to remain in contention for the overall final, had no answer to Burrow's all-out assault. Opening with an incredible 9.67 for a deep tube complete with wild foam ball ride, the West Australian was never headed. While Andre's two final waves were his highest scorers, it was Burrow who had the last laugh, with the event's first perfect 10 coming in the dying minutes, thrown unanimously by the judging panel for a deep disappearing act that moved him straight to his third final for the week. In the twinfin final, a battle between two of the WSL Championship Tour's greatest ever performers was always going to be a closely fought affair, no matter the surfboards ridden. After 5 minutes, Burrow sat with priority on his preferred corner of the reef, while Flores headed out to sea to chase the bigger top peak. Somehow the next set delivered gems to both men. Flores the first to pull into a huge tube, exiting in time for Burrow to hear the crowd erupt as he paddled into a perfect looking wave of his own.
Let's see what Taj's got. He's in the barrel too.
In the end, it was Flores who found a better second score, a 7.27 the reward for his last wave, a tight tube followed by a long wall that allowed him to unleash his arsenal of powerful open-face carves and under-the-lip laybacks. With the twin-fin division decided, the Surfing Champions Trophy grand finalists were locked in. While fatigue was starting to play a role, there was no way Burrow wanted to lose his rhythm. He opted against taking any form of break and rolled straight on to the title deciding bout, merely pausing for a second to add a third small trailer to his twin fin setup, given that the grand final allows for any equipment to be used. February caught 7 waves to Burrow's 4, and both men had 3 excellent scores to their name at final's end. But with a 9.1 and a 9.03, it was Burrow who led throughout. To go, a storm loomed large on the horizon. Suddenly the wind turned stiff offshore, and even after a week of big barrels, suddenly they'd never been wider. Burrow's final pit for the week was a gem, but an 8 was no help to him. He kicked out in the channel, leaving February alone in the lineup, chasing a 9.04. As the buzzer went, February snuck into one last long wall just in time. The crowd seemed to be paying little attention as the South African flew through section after section in the tube. Burrow was worried, but he needn't be, as the resulting 8.17 fell just short for February. Burrow's 6 excellent wave scores on the final day proved that while he may have sacrificed quantity, the quality of his waves didn't suffer in the least. Burrow's victory made him the first ever 3-time winner of the Four Seasons Maldives Surfing Champions Trophy and capped off 3 radical days of competition in the biggest and best waves the event has ever seen.
Oh, get out! Presentation on the boat. Good job. Wow. Amazing. Woo! Oh my God, sick. You hold the flowers for me, Sadie. What? Yeah!